All right, now that we've explored techniques in archiving, let's talk about creating submixes or stems. If I'm going to be giving this to somebody who may be a musician or a DJ or something like that, I need to give them files that are very easy to use. When we're doing this kind of work, we want to make sure that all of the files are starting at the same place, so that when they line them up in Ableton Live or Logic or Pro Tools or whatever they happen to be using, everything's ready to go. There are a couple of different strategies that I want to explore. The first one's going to be the one that's easiest for everybody to work with. And then the next one's going to be a way that we can sort of save on file size. So first of all, I'm going to look at all my tracks here, and I see that we've got all of the chorus vocals have been put together in a track stack, and I see that the verse vocals have been put in a track stack, and these string sounds have been put in a track stack. What I want to do is get as many track stacks as I can going on, so that basically every track stack is going to represent a stem or a submix that I'm going to be bouncing out. So I'll select these chorus vox filter effects, track, create track stack, summing. Generally, when I sum these stacks together, I'll type chorus filt effect, but I always put sum at the end of the name, so they understand that I've got a track stack going on. Because sometimes just very quickly, visually, it's good practice. Now I have these piano chords, and it looks like these are related to those chords. So these are all keyboard sounds. I'll create a track stack. I'll just call it chorus chord sum for now. Close that up. Now I've got these violins, these short strings, which are already in a track stack, but I have this little horn patch that comes in just for this one little bit here. So what I might do is just add that to this current track stack. What's important when we do that, the important thing to do is, okay, I want to make sure that I put it in there. There we go. My summing stack does have an effect on it, but I see that it's just analog channel, which is sort of a tape saturation plugin. And I know that that's not going to alter the horn sound that I brought in too much. It's very important when you're making these track stacks that you don't just toss something in because it's the proper timbre for the group without looking to see what kind of effects are going to be applied to it. All right, that looks okay now, so I can close that up. And let's see, got this, doesn't appear to have anything on it, so I'll just delete it. And then I have percussion. Looks like percussion and drums. And I'm going to close up these track stacks just so that I see what hasn't been grouped yet. Looks like I have a shaker. That can go in there as well. Kick support I'm probably going to end up putting with the basic beat. And I got a snare there and all this stuff. Vintage Machines kick. Yeah, all those things are going to go together. So I'll create another track stack. And this one, for some reason, it only allows me to do a folder stack. Why is that? Well, that's because my 808 shaker is part of a summing stack. So I can't put a summing stack within another summing stack. But I can use a folder stack, and what that makes is it still makes a fader. So I still get a fader here, and I still get organization. I'll call this, let's see. And I'm not going to call it sum, I'll call it folder. So I do have the track stack in there, and I have the other percussive elements. But as you see in the inspector, I'm not going into a summing stack. That's okay, because if we want to solo these elements, we can still hit the solo on this folder stack, and everything else gets muted, which is brilliant. That'll work just fine. So you can't put a summing stack within another summing stack, but you can put a summing stack within a folder stack. So there you go. 808 basic beat, kick support, New York kit, all this stuff is going to go together into the drum stack. Uh-oh, I can't create a track stack. Why can't I create a track stack? Well, let's see. Well, I could create a folder stack, right? Let's see that. No, I can't create a folder stack either. So that must mean that something I have going on in my stacks is not going to allow me to do it. Let's try just 808 basic beat and kick support. Let's see what happens there. I'll use a folder stack. Obviously, it's got to be a folder stack. So there we go. New York City Kid, I'll try and put that in there. That seems to go fine. That's because New York City Kid is actually a parallel processing that I was using. What about East Bay Basic Beat? Yeah, that can go in there too. Okay, so we're doing all right so far. That looks good. What else do I need in there? How about Vintage Machines Kick? Oh, that's not letting me in. So it looks like the problem is with this stack. Now this stack is a summing stack. So yeah, it looks like in my folder stack, gotta make sure that I drag it up far enough that it ends up in the folder and it's not trying to add it to another summing stack. Cool, so now if I close that folder track, I should have everything. Yep. So that's an important way to organize our summing stacks together as well, is to use folder stacks. And let's see, I might shift things around a little bit here, put all the kicks together, do that sort of thing. Kick support can go right next to Vintage Machine Drum Kit, and that's looking pretty good. And I'll go ahead and close that. And then I'll make my track stack, summing stack. SH101 sum, because it's a summing stack. That's looking pretty good. I think I'm ready to go. So next we're going to start bouncing out these different stems, but I want to talk a little bit about effects.